Hi, I'm Kathy Russell, and I'm the General Curator for the Santa Fe College Teaching Zoo. I am also the coordinator for the Tree Kangaroo Species Survival Plan.
I'm Jade Salomone. I'm the Conservation Education Curator here at the Santa Fe College Teaching Zoo and the Education Advisor for the Tree Kangaroo Species Survival Plan.
Tree kangaroos themselves originally actually came from the ground and moved up to the trees, and then sort of through evolution evolved to live in the trees. And you can tell this by the fact that their back legs move independently, much different than our land kangaroos.
Matchie's tree kangaroos are marsupials that live in forests high up in the mountains, up to 11,000 feet in elevation, in one place called the Hawaiian Peninsula in Papua New Guinea. They're exceptionally well adapted to live in the trees where they spend most of their time. They have really long claws and long tails that help them balance, and they can even jump from a tree to the ground 60 feet below without getting hurt. They're pretty incredible.
And they use their tail not as a prehensile tail, but for balancing when they're high up on the trees and going around. They rarely come down. They're going to sleep and eat up in the trees. Breeding will occur on the ground, but that's about the only time that they're going to come down.
They're also believed to be mainly solitary. So at the zoos, you'll often see them live in different enclosures where they might be able to see each other but not be near each other unless they're interested in mating. And the only relationships they usually do form are with their joeys, which usually last up to about 18 months until they go off to find their own mate.
After breeding, the gestation period before she's going to give birth is only about 52 to 54 days. At birth, comes out as a little jelly bean size, and it uses the mom's tail and the fur on the abdomen to climb up into that pouch. It'll stay in that pouch, suckling on one of the nipples for 7 to 8 months. At that point, it's still going to be nursing, but it'll start showing parts of its body. Maybe the head will pop out, tail will hang out, a foot or something will hang out. And then as time progresses, more and more of the joey will be seen, to eventually the joey will hop out and hop into the pouch. We've even known joeys that have been 12 to 13 months, like they're getting ready to be old enough to maybe, leave the area, have been trying to get back into mom's pouch.
Zoos and aquariums that are accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums participate in programs called Species Survival Plans. There's nearly 500 SSPs within AZA, and they're all managed by volunteers that work at institutions around the world to protect a species. They manage the populations within human care, conservation directly in the wild, and educate the public to create a passion for those animals.
I and 2 other people manage the entire population of Matchie's tree kangaroos in North America. This is not a very easy task. Our main objective is we produce what's called a breeding and transfer plan. And basically what this is to line up female tree kangaroos with male tree kangaroos in hopes that they're compatible so that we have very good reproduction. And the idea is to have strong genetic diversity over a long period of time. In other words, to be able to sustain that population. But that's very difficult because you can only transfer tree kangaroos from one zoo or aquarium to another when the temperature is just right, not too hot, not too cold. You also don't want to transfer older or too young animals, and you also don't want to transfer over long distances. So it makes that task very, very difficult. Ideally, we like to put 2 youngsters together at the proper age, and if those guys are compatible, then those pair are going to stay together for the rest of their life. So we don't have to move those animals around. In order to make sure that we have good breeding in our population, we also need to really look at the health of the animal. And for us to do that, one of the things that we do is we monitor reproductory hormone levels for our female tree kangaroos. So all the zoos and aquariums that have these animals are doing this for us so that we can best determine when we should be introducing our male to our female. As said earlier, these are solitary animals, so we really have to make sure we're hitting the peak time for that female to introduce our male to that. And so there's a lot of research or data collection on that to make sure that we're doing that correctly. Another thing we found out is if we had overweight female tree kangaroos, they weren't producing. And so we've put together, and again, collecting data from all the other zoos and aquariums, trying to figure out what is the proper weight for a female tree kangaroo to really increase the success of reproduction. Another thing that we've learned too is, which is sort of obvious, is the diet. But obvious to try to figure out what that diet is correct, that can be very difficult. So we have analyzed the captive diet that all of the zoos and aquariums are using, and along with our partners, the Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program, they've been able there to collect the food from the wild, bring it to the United States, and run some analysis on that, some nutritional analysis, so that we know what the nutritional value of the wild diet is, so we can match that one here. So all these things are in order to try to really make sure that we are making it as positive as possible for those tree kangaroos to have successful breeding. And like I said, we deal a lot with the Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program, which Jade is going to talk to you in detail.
The Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program is a shining example of community-based conservation. They work directly with the indigenous people that live in Papua New Guinea by providing them job opportunities, schools, healthcare, because when people thrive, species thrive. And through all their partnerships with the indigenous people of Papua New Guinea, those people have given up over 390,000 acres of protected area called the Use Conservation Area that not only helps tree kangaroos, but protects all the species that share their habitat. Education is a huge component of any SSP. How can you protect something you don't even love yet? So a really big goal of ours is to spread awareness about these species. We even host a Tree Kangaroo Awareness Day in May every year to get people excited about these animals and want to take actions to protect them in the wild. It may feel impossible to help a species oceans away, but there's choices we can make every day that affect species and ecosystems. Be an informed consumer. When you go to the grocery store, know what you're buying. You can get apps like the Sustainable Palm Oil app that lets you know that the products that you're buying are harvested in a way that protects species and ecosystems. Thank you for taking the time to learn about Matthew's tree kangaroos and the ways zoos and aquariums are making a difference for them in the wild.